Hello and welcome to the 39th broadcast of the Nerdflix podcast. Today we are going to cover Alice in Wonderland. We are going to talk about the books, the Disney cartoon, the Tim Burton adaptation, and even some of the other adaptations that are out there because there are a lot. So let's get started.
Hello. I'm the Doctor. Basically, run.
Why so serious?
Hello, Peter.
Herb, I know what we're gonna do today.
I got a bad feeling about this.
This is the way.
Welcome to the Nerdflix podcast. I have read and enjoyed the books that Alice in Wonderland is based off of. The first one, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, was a pretty entertaining book, but it didn't really have much of a plot to carry it along, similar to some other adaptations. There wasn't much of a, ongoing plot besides the fact that she was stuck in Wonderland, which is why I seem to enjoy Alice to the Looking Glass more, because it had more of a central plot going on with a chess game throughout Wonderland. So the books were quite good, and I see why they made so many adaptations off of them. The idea for Alice actually came from the daughter of Lewis Carroll's boss. That is where he got the inspiration and actually wrote the book and gave it to her first before it was published. The book had gone through many names before settling with Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. It was going to be called Alice's Adventures Underground, Alice's Hour in Elfland, Alice Among the Fairies, and Alice Among the Goblins. Those are just some of the names they threw around before they settled with the name we all know now. Since its original release in 1865, the book actually has not been out of print, ever. They have been printing new copies of the book from 1865 up until now. So that is, crazy. The book never went out of print. But now let's get into the Disney adaptation, Alice in Wonderland. This was a classic Disney cartoon that was made and was based off of both books. I think they combined both books just because they were real short books. And like I had mentioned, the first one didn't have much of a central plot, and the second one did. So I feel like combining both books is a good idea if you want a featured-length film such as what Disney had made. So I think it was a good call to combine both books to make this animated classic. Walt Disney had the idea to make an animated film based off of Alice in Wonderland back in 1932, but they did not begin working on it till 1946 because of all the adaptations of Alice in Wonderland that were coming out at the time. The studio did not think it was such a fresh idea, and they halted starting the project until 1946, and the movie wasn't released until 1951. Since it is all hand-drawn, the movie in total took almost 7 years to make. We've seen many movies through the years that combine animation and live action. Space Jam, Roger Rabbit, just a few of them. But those were all more recent movies than the Disney Alice in Wonderland. But the original idea for this was to combine Disney animation with live-action film, which I don't think would have been a good idea for the time that this was made, because they obviously did not have the proper technology to make that look decent. So I'm glad they didn't do that, but that'd still be interesting to see now, maybe. But I'm glad they didn't go with that, because that could have looked bad. There was a large debate as to what Alice's accent should be for this movie. They had tossed around the ideas of her having an English accent, American accent, Australian accent, and even a Canadian accent. And for whatever reason, this was, quite the big question for the people making this movie as to what Alice should sound like. And in the end, they ended up going with a English accent, but not too English, so that the American viewers can still, comprehend what she's saying. There were a great deal of songs in this adaptation of the novel, and there were even more originally that they had cut from the final take of the movie. And some of those songs had been reused for future Disney movies. For instance, one of the songs that was scrapped in this movie was reused and the lyrics were altered slightly for Peter Pan. So they were reusing some of the music they had written for this movie for other Disney films. When adapting not one but two books into a movie, obviously some things are going to get altered or added to, make the movie a little bit different. And one of the things that is different in this movie versus the books is that when Alice first enters Wonderland, in the movie there is a talking doorknob. The doorknob does not talk in the books, and there is a reason as to why they decided to have this talking doorknob. In the books, we can obviously, we get Alice's thoughts, we can hear her thoughts and we know what she's thinking, but the thing is with the movie is obviously we don't get that. And the way Alice's personality works in the books is that, her thoughts are really the bit we're following since she is the main character. So they wanted to have something that Alice could, bounce her thoughts off of so that we could, follow the story and it wouldn't really be silent and boring. So they added a talking doorknob for Alice to interact with so that they could portray what was going through her head at the moment to keep the people entertained. Among the songs that were cut from this movie, one of them was a song that the Cheshire Cat would have sung as he entered. Instead, they gave him a poem that he recited, a poem that was used in Alice Through the Looking Glass, instead of him singing his own song. To portray the Mad Hatter in this movie, the studio had recorded two pieces of audio. One of the actor actually saying his written lines for the movie, and one of him doing an ad-lib kind of improv thing with some of the producers. And in the end, they decided that the ad-lib one was better and fitted better in the movie, so they went with that one. But the sound studio was not happy with this because it had a great deal of noise in the background. But they did end up tweaking that and went with the ad-lib session as opposed to the script. Now let's discuss another adaptation of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Way after the release of the Disney version, Disney released another adaptation of Alice in Wonderland, this time live action and directed by Tim Burton. I wouldn't say this movie is much different, but it certainly has its differences from the original Disney movie and the books, and it definitely has somewhat of a Tim Burton twist to it, which is why I enjoy it. And yeah, it is pretty good, but it isn't very similar to the originals, but it still is a solid movie. This next fact I found very surprising and did a lot of research on to make sure it was true because I didn't believe it. Apparently, Alice in Wonderland is Tim Burton's most successful film to date. And that's crazy. That's not at all what I thought his most successful would be, because that is not, the first movie that comes to mind when you think of Tim Burton movies. So I'm surprised that this movie was his most successful. Making this movie came right down to the wire. Burton was still editing it 2 weeks before its release. A common theme throughout Tim Burton films is hiding Jack Skellington's head somewhere within the movie, and this film is no exception of that. You can see Jack's head on the scarf of the Mad Hatter throughout the film. After Alice in Wonderland came another live-action adaptation of the books, this one being Alice Through the Looking Glass. This one was alright, but not as good as the first one, and it certainly was nowhere near Alice Through the Looking Glass at all. It had a pretty much brand new plot to it, so I didn't really enjoy that much, but the movie itself was, okay. Even though this is a direct sequel to the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland, this was not even directed by Tim Burton, which may be where my problems with this movie begin. He only produced it, he did not direct it, even though it was a sequel to his works. But even though he did not direct it, he was still involved, and this movie actually marks Tim Burton and Johnny Depp's 9th collaboration together. 9th. They have done so many movies together through the years. And now it is time for another segment of product review. So we're going to go straight to Amazon with a basic search of Alice in Wonderland merchandise. And right off the bat, you have a lot to choose from. There are glasses, blankets, art, posters, socks, pillows, even a cool deck of cards. A cool deck of playing cards, t-shirts, tea sets, fitting, I suppose, for Alice in Wonderland. But some of my favorite things I see here is a record that has a Cheshire Cat smile laser cut into it and then made into a clock. Doorknobs that look like the talking doorknob from the movie, the Disney version. These are actual functioning doorknobs. The only thing is they're $100, but besides that, they're quite nice. And if you even want to get into something more expensive, for $220, you can get this insanely elaborate Alice in Wonderland cuckoo clock. So that's what's up on Amazon. Now let's get into what Funko products are available for Alice in Wonderland. I do not have any Alice in Wonderland Pops, but I would enjoy to have some. And there are some cool ones. So right off the bat, you have some of the original ones they released a while ago, I think around 2012, I believe. Different variations of Cheshire Cat, including one where he's half invisible. The Mad Hatter and Alice. Then they released a line for the live-action version with Alice, the Mad Hatter, Cheshire Cat. By the way, I wasn't a fan of the Cheshire Cat in that version, but, you know, it was okay, but I prefer the original. But yeah, so there's a ton, and there was more for Alice Through the Looking Glass as well. A lot of those for some reason. And then they released another line of the Disney Alice in Wonderland Pops, including the Queen of Hearts with Hedgehog, which was a Hot Topic exclusive. The Caterpillar, which was a 2021 Emerald City Comic Con exclusive, but also went to Hot Topic. Then there was Alice, this time curtsying. Alice, blacklight version. Cheshire Cat, but he looks like he's floating. Cheshire Cat glow in the dark. That's actually quite cool. It's exclusive to Books A Million. Then a Cheshire Cat exclusive to the Funko Shop, which is Blacklight. Then Mad Hatter, Blacklight Mad Hatter, March Hare, White Rabbit, and then a only at Target White Rabbit and White Rabbit t-shirt exclusive where the pop is also flocked. You get a lot in that, and really that's pretty cool. White Rabbit Blacklight, more of different variations of Alice, Cheshire Cat, the Walrus and the Carpenter. This is one I really wanted, but I didn't end up getting. This is the Walrus and the Carpenter. It was a 2021 FunCon summer exclusive, and I wasn't able to get this one. I really wish I was, because it's quite nice. Then there's a couple more elaborate ones with Alice with the Flowers, a Tweedledee and Tweedledum 2-pack, Alice and Teacup at that ride in Disney World, Disneyland, one of them. And yeah, so that's basically what you got there Funko Pop wise. Now let's get into what I am most excited to talk about, because everyone knows the Disney version of Alice in Wonderland, and I'm sure everyone's heard of the live action version, but there are actually a ton of other adaptations of the classic novels. There are loads of them, and some of them are really interesting. The first film adaptation was in 1903 with a 8-minute silent film. Now, I was able to find this one on YouTube, and it's alright. I mean, the video quality is obviously horrible, but besides that, it was enjoyable. I've done a ton of research on all these adaptations, and you can actually find almost all of them on YouTube. All the ones I list are on YouTube, unless I say otherwise. There was another silent film adaptation in 1910 called Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. This one I also enjoyed. It was a bit longer. I believe it was 14 minutes, but I do think it was better than the 8-minute one. There were 2 more movie adaptations in 1931 and 1933, this time with sound. Not only that, but also through the years there have been classic cartoon parodies of Alice in Wonderland, including Mickey Mouse Through the Mirror, which is a parody of Through the Looking Glass. There was a made-for-TV movie called Alice in 1946. I was not able to find this one on YouTube. There was also an Alice in Wonderland in 1949, another TV movie in 1950, this one also not being on YouTube, and of course the Disney version in 1951. There was another made-for-TV movie in 1955 and in 1966, so we had quite the break there from tons of adaptations to now no adaptations for over 10 years. But in 1966 we get a cartoon version, which is partially on YouTube. I haven't been able to find the full cut, but it's broken up into parts if you want to check that out. In the same year, there was also a TV play and Alice Through the Looking Glass adaptation. So I guess people really wanted some more Alice in Wonderland stuff. It'd been a while. There was another adaptation, a movie adaptation in 1972, and a made-for-TV movie in 1974, which is not on YouTube. There was one also made in 1982, and a cartoon version made in 1983. This next one is another Alice in Wonderland TV movie, and I looked this one up on YouTube, and it's actually quite long. It was shown on CBS, and it's broken up into 2 parts, adding up to almost 3 hours, so I have no idea why it's so long. I'm assuming it combines both the books, but it's quite lengthy. Then there was a TV series made in 1986 and another cartoon made in 1987, both of which I was not able to find on YouTube. Then another movie in 1980. A while ago on YouTube, I had come across this strange foreign film. It is called Alice and was made in 1988, and is an adaptation but isn't really anything like Alice in Wonderland. It is completely not in English, and you can have English subtitles if you want, but I think it adds to the cheesy weirdness if you watch it all in foreign language. I will find out what language that is in. But yeah, it is quite strange and horrifying at times. It has a lot of taxidermy stop motion and is really more horrifying than magical, I think, because it's not really bright and fun. It's this weird little beige house thing that Alice is in the whole time, and there's these freaky socks at one point that try and eat her. It is very strange, but I do recommend looking it up for a good horrified laugh. In 1991, there was a TV series, not on YouTube for some reason. I don't know what it is with these TV series and no episodes ending up on YouTube, even though these full-length movies end up on YouTube somehow. And then in 1995, there was a cartoon adaptation and another made-for-TV movie in 1998 and 1999. And after that, all we've seen since then are some pretty big studio adaptations, including a miniseries in 2009 just called Alice, and of course the Tim Burton movies in 2010 and 2016. So there you have it. That is all of the major Alice in Wonderland adaptations, and that's not even the tip of the iceberg. There are still so many parodies, references, and even things I might not have listed. It just shows that there are so many ways that people can adapt this, and the story is really beloved by generations. I do also recommend, if you got the time, to look up some of these things on YouTube, because most of these ones, especially the older ones, you can find on YouTube, and the short film ones originally were real short, like I said, 8 minutes, 14 minutes, so just take the time to look them up and watch them. They're quite entertaining. Today's segment of Forgotten Facts comes to us from Nerdflix number 13, Back to the Future, and this is a crazy detail in the first movie, Back to the Future, that most people probably missed. At the mall that Marty meets Doc Brown at, it is called Twin Pines Mall, because Doc talks about how a farmer used to own that and he grew 2 twin pines on the property. Well, when Marty goes back to 1955 in the DeLorean, you can see really quickly, it's hard to catch, you can see he runs over one of the 2 pine trees. And later in the movie, towards the end, when Marty returns to the mall, if you look closely at the sign, it is now called the Lone Pine Mall, as opposed to the Twin Pine Mall. So that's crazy detail that I missed, and you guys probably missed too. Okay, that is it for this episode of the Nerdflix podcast. Be sure to listen in next time, and until then, I will see you next time on Nerdflix.